Acne has always been part of my life. I would always have some pimple here or there. I mean, I've never had totally clear skin, except for the 7, 8 month period I was on Accutane, and that kept me clear for maybe a year afterwards. And I went on Accutane really for convenience. I was like, I'm just sick of dealing with these random zits that pop up here and there. I'll take this magic pill that'll make it go away forever. And, it looked like it was going to do that until it was starting to come back.
So we have an extra special episode today. You know, I love when I get to chat with our clients here on the podcast, but we have one of our scholarship winners on today, and I've been waiting 6 months to be able to do this chat. For those that don't know, we actually run a boot camp a few times a year. It's generally like a 3-day boot camp. They're so much fun. They are so jam-packed with information. Like we kind of like over deliver here because that's just what we do. Chris comes and hangs out, and we have women from all over the world come in the Facebook group on Zoom, and they're hanging out with us for the 3 days. And they're really involved in the chat, and they're answering homework questions. And at the end of the week, we give out a scholarship to one of the women that have joined us. And she's gone through the whole game. She hung out with Chris for the last 6 months. So I'm really excited to learn about your journey and just dig into, what those challenges have been, where you were coming from. So let's kind of rewind all the way to the beginning and tell me a little bit just about you, but also about how acne was impacting your life at this stage in your life.
Acne has always been part of my life. I would always have some pimple here or there. I mean, I've never had totally clear skin, except for the 7, 8 month period I was on Accutane, and that kept me clear for maybe a year afterwards. So I was on, and I went on Accutane really for convenience. I was like, I'm just sick of dealing with these random zits that pop up here and there. I'll take this magic pill that'll make it go away forever. And, it looked like it was going to do that. And then I would say January of 2024, I sort of sensed that it was starting to come back. And I was sort of debating what my next move was going to be. I guess I should back up to part of my story that sort of adds another layer is I switched to a vegan diet in 2023. So like spring of 2023. And then by that fall of 2023, I had lost most of my hair. I mean, it was just falling out and I was scared. So I went to my dermatologist. And at that point, I'd finished the Accutane and they put me on spironolactone and BioStill, which is, a biotin supplement. So I started those in September of 2023. The hair started to improve. And then, like I said, beginning of 2024, I could kind of sense that things were going south. And that combined with the fact that I lost my dad very unexpectedly in the beginning of 2024. By about April, I was starting to have like the real cystic acne on my cheeks that I had never experienced before. And so I decided I was going to take a more holistic approach to it this time. And I had stumbled across something called the Bean Protocol. So I implemented that into my diet. And I was basically following that protocol from April until I came into this program. So, like February of 2025. And, only moderate improvement in my skin. My digestion was not good, probably going way too much. As I learned through this program, I was drinking way too much water. So I was probably dehydrating myself through overconsumption of water. So anyway, I ended up going to see an esthetician, like an acne specialist, in October of 2024. And completely overhauled my product line because everything I was using, which was natural, was pore clogging. So I was using all these things that I thought were safe and healthy, and I'm sure they were just making everything worse. So I did that overhaul in October, and through that acne specialist is how I found your program and started following along on Instagram. I think I did a master class in the fall of 2024 and then signed up for that boot camp in 2025. And here I am.
Here we are. We love it because every acne sufferer has that history. They have that journey. They have years and years of dealing with the breakouts, trying the different things, the Accutane, the different diets, and nothing was working for them. So for you, Peggy, like you're a busy mom of 4. So it's not like you have all of this free time in the world. You're super, super busy. I'm sure you're running around to sports and different events and kid stuff and packing lunch, like all of the things that us moms do. So how did you find that dealing with acne on top of this, all of the roles you currently hold, how is that acne just impacting your daily day to day?
I would say it was debilitating. I mean, at different points in my life, it would keep me from going out in public. I had that window of time where my skin was totally clear and it was life changing. I mean, being able to just not worry about, are they looking at that thing on my face or do they see it too? And to just have that confidence that seems like everyone else around me is able to have. And for whatever reason, my skin just couldn't get it together.
I know it's unless you've dealt with acne, it's so hard to understand the impact that it has on your day-to-day life. Because from the outside, people just assume, "Oh, it's a physical issue," but it's so much more than just a physical issue, like, it's impacting your mental well-being, your emotional well-being, and it's just like this basically, you're wearing a wet blanket throughout your day, going about being a mom and being a woman and doing all of these things in your day. It's just this added weight that you don't need, and it's so, so impactful. So Chris, I would love to know when Peggy first came in, like, what were those initial things where they were, like, the red flags for you? We're like, "Okay, this is what we gotta start working on."
Actually, Peggy was more mindset right off the bat was mine. And this is probably news to Peggy because I don't share this stuff with clients. I just make my little notes and I do my little thing. And actually, looking back at it now, Peggy, what was one of the first exercises I had you do for me around your day?
An itinerary of how I spend my time throughout the day.
Yeah. So you come into an acne program, and the first thing your coach says is, by the way, I'd like you to take an itinerary of your day, do it over 3 days. Let's see how systematic it is, how ingrained it is, and then what happened? What did you notice?
What I was doing made absolutely no sense. I was wasting huge chunks of my day being inefficient, and it was really eye-opening. I think of myself as a successful woman and, I'm a professional and, I am a stay-at-home mom, but, like, I know what I'm doing for the most part, but clearly I did not know what I was doing.
Because we lose track. Everything engulfs into the children. Stay-at-home moms, we engulf into the household a lot. Okay. And I know that because just think about summer vacations or like Katie and I work from home and we have the kids or they're sick, it throws your day for a wrench, like all of these things. And when you came in and you're like, yes, I'm a professional. This is what I do. And I'm a stay at home mom. And I said, my prayers are with you. And that's kind of how our stuff went. And then, like, let's get that itinerary because I was about to ask you to change lifestyle. And already I felt that tension. And not because you knew you were tense or because you understood it. Where I mean about the tension is your day was rammed. I'm pretty sure if I pulled that up and I could show everybody, there wasn't even 15 minutes in there that you took for yourself.
Yes, and I would say what I had been doing was getting up extra early in the morning so that I did have a chunk of time for myself, but sleep is more important than that time, you've taught me.
She was an early riser too. Katie, you know how you're like, I am not going to be that 5:30 person. Katie's like, no, I'm not going to be that five. I used to be that 5:30 person. It is just not worth it to my soul. And Peggy was getting up early so that she could do that workout. At that point, that workout is no longer self-care in my books. That workout was, I have to do this because I'm telling myself, quote unquote, bullying myself into it and repositioning because this is what it takes to be healthy.
And it's another thing on your to-do list that you're having to check off.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I like exercise, but it was just, could we find something else? How many times a day were you doing laundry? I still remember this. 6 months later.
4, 5?
Yeah. Who does laundry that often? I'm like, that's it. But Lordy, I wanted to know she was doing the neighbors. Like, but it was chunking, right? And I know it sounds silly, but that's what we really had to get in. Again, coaching isn't just about let's get in. And I know Peggy wanted clear skin. I get that. She's in the program. However, we also have to make sure that she had the time to do it. And Peggy's kind of like that, the strong silent type. I don't hear from her often. I check in. She gives me full detailed updates, which is good. But you know if people are applying it. Because when you coach long enough, you understand by the responses of which people give you and by the timelines of where you should be. So Really, I mean, Peggy, just want to say too, like, congratulations, because a lot of this was your own resilience.
Thank you.
And for you, Peggy, because like again, this wasn't a lack of trying. You've done the Accutane, you were trying the bean diet, you're trying eating healthy, like you were trying all of the different ways. So you were really trying to figure out what was going on. And then when you came in, you got your hair traced analysis, and Chris sat you down and was like, "Hey, this is what's going on." Was there any really eye-opening parts to that, the results when you got your HTMA back?
No, I mean, I knew something had to be off. What that was, I had no idea. That's why it's so helpful to have someone who understands. I remember looking at the report when it first came back and being like, "Oh wow, I'm really low in." It looked like I had way too much zinc. And then I met with Chris, and she's like, "We're gonna put you on a zinc supplement," and I was like, but I wasn't understanding was that report was showing me that it wasn't bioavailable. So the zinc that I had, my body couldn't access. Just things like that, as a little information is it can be a really dangerous thing. And I'm someone, like Chris said, I like to think that I'm capable and I can figure all of this stuff out on my own. And it's been humbling, and I'm grateful to know that there's support out there and I don't have to, because I am clearly out of my depth in terms of how the body systems work. It's been crazy to realize that, 44 years old, I really had no idea how to take care of my own body. And, I'm so grateful to know it now going forward.
It's so interesting as we never learn this stuff in school. Like, I would have loved to learn all of this stuff about my body, but so many of us women are learning this in their 30s, their 40s, their 50s, and had we all known this a few decades ago, I'm sure we would all be feeling so much better. So I guess that's why I'm so excited for this next generation, because they have access to all of this at their fingertips that we didn't have when we were younger, and it's so incredible that we're learning these things for the first time as adult women. And like you said, Peggy, is you're a highly educated professional woman, because before being a stay-at-home mom, you worked in law. Like you said, professional.
Like I said, it can be a dangerous thing that think, I've got this. I know what I'm doing. When clearly, what I was doing was not working. So there's just this disconnect between what I wanted and what I was doing.
So when we even look at that zinc as an example, zinc isn't a supplement I often recommend for most people. And it's crazy because a lot of people coming into the clear skin have already been on zinc or they're taking zinc, these things, but you are a vegan. And vegans are lower in zinc because zinc is very predominant in animal proteins, where copper is more predominant in plant proteins. And for everybody out there listening to me going, "Oh my gosh, I need to take zinc because I'm vegan," that does not necessarily mean that's true. So hang tight, please, with me. Don't go there yet. But even outside of that, is just to look at it, it's, like phosphorus. Phosphorus is biounavailable. So we needed to get more fats in. You were on the bean protocol. So, with bean, we tend to have gas, but we don't need gas. We need good digestion. And it's these small little nuances. So where you were getting gains on the bean protocol, I remember you saying, "Oh, well, you want me to kind of come out of the bean protocol?" It's like, yeah, I'm going to bring you into some whole foods. So when you were transferring out of a very systematic bean protocol into really what I was getting into was way more whole foods, how did you feel overall?
Good. My mindset was challenged because it felt like I was cheating, by eating these things that I hadn't been eating for so long. But physically, the inflammation that I was experiencing came way down. Like I was having real consistent joint pain in one of my fingers, and that went away. I think, the variety and really focusing on the anti-inflammatory foods did wonders.
And then even when we were going in and shifting into therapeutic protocols after that, you had a flare. It wasn't an acne flare. What flare was it?
I never went to the dermatologist. I don't know if dermatitis is the correct term for it, but I would have red patches pop up kind of all over my face, under my eyes. My eyelids were swollen and red. That started pretty much March and was consistent through June.
And you were going through a comprehensive gut protocol.
Yes.
Yeah. See, those pathogens, they don't like to be played with. And, clients will say to me, to other coaches, these things, oh my gosh, this is what's happening. I'm having a flare. And the first thing I say is send me a picture. Send me a picture. Let me see. And from there, I was like, oh my gosh, this looks like an immune-like issue. So 50% of your immune system's in your gut. So when we saw this, and then I was like, okay, well, this could be histamines, which is higher or more predominant, but because you were eating a vegan version, not a ton of histamine-like behaviors in there, right? So I could delineate food right away. Outside of that, okay, why is the immune system responding? Oh, well, the toxicity level could have been too high. Repositioning the mucosal barrier, eradicating these types of things. I added just one supplement. And how quick did your body respond to that one supplement?
Within a couple days.
And we know that supplement is AKA a Band-Aid like behavior, but supplements also have targeted approaches. So when we do that and we add that supplement in specifically, and it was plant sterols and just supported the immune system instantly in a few days, you did have a flare a little bit again after that at another time. And okay, let's just reposition the supplementation. And then there was no need to do that again. The thing is the body is this innate vessel and it remembers things and it loves things. Just like when you're working out, you can only do 5 pounds for so long before your body's like, oh, this is so easy. Let's go to 10. And then you're like, oh, that hurt. Why did I go to 10? Right? So we're pushing the body out of the comfort zone. So your immune system, it was doing its job. It was just getting overwhelmed. And because you lived through it and your body just knows, let's go to Peggy's space because that's what we do. And by the time things get to the eyes, it's usually an overrun of things. So we just always have to be careful. But after, taking the supplement and, massaging yourself out and, reducing, like, say, all the other antifungals, these types of things, how are you feeling overall from when you came in, not just skin, but just yourself overall?
Really good. I didn't think that I felt terrible coming in, but I definitely have more energy. I think sleep has been a key piece of my puzzle. We talked about how I was an early riser and, right away you were like, you are not getting up before 6. And that was a really big adjustment for me to find a different time to work out and not have that me time in the morning. But it's been so worth it. And the other issue that I had was that I would always wake up during the night. I mean, I started the program, I would wake up at least 3 times a night. And now I'm down to once, which is a huge win for me.
Yeah, I think any mom out there is like, what? 1 time a night you wake up? That's like a vacation.
Yeah.
And there was some nights where it was 4. It was like, on average, I would say 3 was your average. And then we had Christina, our lovely wellness consultant. She was checking in on things. And that's the nice little thing people don't even see. So Christina's looking at journals, and it's a little bit more than food, isn't it? We're looking at lifestyle and habits. I'm talking to Christina. I'm like, hey, can you watch XYZ for me? Can you see when she's repositioning? I also had you change your dietary habits and actually asked you to snack before bedtime at a certain period. And then from there, we reduced 1. And then Christina added 1 small little change in there, and that was a pillow. We got down to another one. So this is what I just want everyone to understand is like, Peggy did not come in, I don't want to say explosive acne, right, Peggy? Like to you, a different story maybe, but to me, not explosive acne. And a lot of it, like I said, is not just the mindset. It was the lifestyle. It was the patterns. It was the very astute, very knowledge-based, very analytical. So I knew I had to give Peggy options as part of her coaching style. And I had to, definitely a democracy, 110%, because that's part of that knowledge base. That's a lawyer base. They look for the facts, but they also look for a very multi-facet approaches. So it has to work within her. And I already, within first 4 weeks, I already pushed her way out of her comfort zone anyways, right? So it was like these little pieces. One thing I did want to share, Peggy, I found, Miss Page found, so thank you, Paige. She found the entry from the boot camp because recently you and I, we had met for your 5-month review. And I said, Peggy, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. There were 3 people and I work with the scholarships and you had the least amount written. You really did. I'll share it. And I said, I have to work with her. And you were like, what? And I'm like, yeah, it's true. So I'm going to read everybody what she wrote. We said, why do you want to have the scholarship? And she said, to me, it's the ability to look people in the eyes and connect. to let them truly see me without having to hide anything about myself. And I said, this has nothing to do with acne. Let me take her.
And can I just say, we usually do like a lottery system. We pull the names, everyone gets assigned a number. This was the very first time we've ever run some type of contest. And Chris was like, nope, we're picking her. And I was like, okay. Like, I know better than to argue with Chris at this point when she has a gut feeling. I'm like, okay, fine. Peggy it is. Let's do it.
Well, there was names because there were names. Everybody picked one name.
We picked names to narrow it down to 3, and then generally, it's just whatever the one is picked, but Chris was like, "Nope, this is the one that we need to work with her," because that's what she said, this isn't about acne, and that's what really here at KSOU is what we're about, is it's not about acne. It is, but it isn't. It's about what having clear skin gives you back in your life.
Just saying, when it says being able to do the eye contact and stuff, and I said this to you on the call, I said, Peggy's successful, she has 4 kids, like you can see all these different things, but she's not seen as a person, and motherhood is a thankless job. I didn't even know you had 4 kids at this time. I just said somewhere in her life, she is not seen, and her acne is driven from her inability to be seen, and the acne is just an excuse to keep you not being seen. Does that make sense?
Yeah, wow. I've always been a believer in your voodoo, Chris, but that just sent chills.
She knows. And, you're worth it. I want you to know you're worth it. And now that you have new patterns, now that you're seeing different things, now that you're into this holistic realm, I mean, you were excited because you're like, my husband just bought me a mood light, a happy light. And what do you think about this? And your husband's getting all involved into it now too, right? Like it's not any different. Remember I said, just slowly, just keep chipping away. Don't ask them to change. Just, make the meals. They'll enjoy them. They'll see that we're not feeding you cardboard. It'll be really good. But yeah, these small little things. So based on what you wrote to me, it's the ability to look people in the eye and connect, to let them truly see me without having to hide anything about myself. From the Peggy that wrote that in January till now, do you think you've come full circle for that?
Yes. I was skeptical. I saw all the before and after pictures, but I was like, is this going to work? And, my skin has basically been clear other than the dermatitis, which was, I would take over acne any day. To be able to go out in public and not have to cover anything or, avoid making eye contact with people because I don't want to be seen. I've lived more of my life that way than I'd like to admit. And this program has given me the opportunity to not do that anymore because I have the tools. I know the lifestyle I need to continue in order to keep this going.
I love that. That's my favorite part, is what everyone walks away with is the tools and the knowledge to continue this lifestyle on for not just themselves, but for their family members. And really what I love is that ripple effect, right? Like you're a mom for husband, you have people that you love and friends and family. And when you lead by example, your family and friends and children see this as well. And it creates this ripple effect into your community, into the world, just because you were brave enough to make a decision for yourself.
I tell my kids all the time, your body is the most valuable thing you're ever going to have. Learning to take care of it much younger than I did will serve them well. So very grateful.
So the big question is, of course, everybody wants to know, Peggy, is how has your skin been? Like from what you started in the program to where you are now, what types of shifts have you seen in your skin?
It's clear. I don't wake up every morning wondering what's popped up while I was sleeping. And if the odd pimple does pop up, it's not anything that bothers. I mean, it's not the deep cystic underground, they're just like normal little pimples that everybody gets. So feeling like a normal person and knowing that I'm healthy has given me great confidence with my skin.
I love that for you, Peggy, is just you just have a little bit of makeup to wear, because that was for me, is I felt like I always had to wear makeup. And then when my skin cleared up, I didn't have to wear it anymore. So now for you, you've gone through the whole program, you've gone through the process, you've transformed so many areas of your life. What advice would you give to somebody who was in your shoes 6 months ago?
Don't settle. Stay curious. Like there is a reason why your body is responding the way it's responding. And once you can figure out what is causing that, there's light at the end of the tunnel. And staying curious about what your very specific body needs and likes, and listening to the advice of people who know better than you, I think is very important, but also, being intuitive about what's going on.
I know. It's hard, right? Is when we are smart, we're educated, we're professional, and we're like, "No, I can figure things out. I can do hard things," but we don't realize that everybody needs that person. Everybody needs that coach in order to find those little nuances and find those hidden things that you're not looking for because you're biased to your own self. So I love that for you, Peggy. You've had such a transformation, not just your skin, but your health and your mindset overall. So everyone, another episode here on the podcast. We will see you next week. Have a great day, everybody.